I'm very happy to see Joost with us today. Joost is a strategist, facilitator, and the founder of Limelights, with over 17 years of experience working with frontrunners and Fortune 500 companies across the globe. And Joost will share his 5 lessons today from designing and facilitating more than 50 AI workshops, hackathons, and trainings. So Joost, very much looking forward to your tips, tricks, and details.
Thanks, Valeria. And yeah, when you guys invited me from the L&D Shakers community, my first idea was to just do a Ask Me Anything session. So just open the Zoom, ask me anything. But then, yeah, Anna Maria, you were like, no, that's not good enough. We cannot do that. So I made a compromise, and I split the session in 2 parts. So it's around 45 minutes, and I really want to ask you in the chat to ask me anything all the time during the session. So we have a really good Q&A afterwards. And please make the questions as challenging, tricky, thought-provoking as possible. Ask the things that you're like, can I really ask this? Just ask it. Because I think that will be like very interesting to run afterwards. Because this session is split in 2 parts. 20 minutes, I'm just sharing what I learned from all these sessions. And it was just really nice. This morning at 8 o'clock, I arrived at the office like, okay, I know more or less these 5 lessons, but what did I really learn from all these sessions? And so in 20 minutes, rapid fire, I'm going to just push them through. Then it's up to you. The second half, 20 minutes, ask me anything. What do you want to know? I see lots of interesting people here in the room. And that's also where, for me, it's most interesting to see what you want to learn. What's at this moment in time in the different companies urgent, and what are you looking for? So that's the setup of the session. In the chat, ask me anything all the time. And then we have more participants joining. Hi, Brittany. Welcome. Valeria, can you keep admitting people? All right. So yeah, there we go. Rapid fire, 20 minutes, 5 lessons from designing and facilitating 50 AI workshops. I've been working a lot in the AI space almost since the moment that ChatGPT got launched, initiating my own projects, hackathons, action labs to really keep innovating, working for a Fortune 500 company, Syngenta, on lots of different teams, large-scale trainings, leadership sessions. And I must say, I feel privileged working for them because they are very keen on AI. So they were very fast with doing their own OpenAI integrated chat within the company, so everybody could use it securely. And they really started training at scale. So really a crazy journey just with them. Then we're also setting up bigger leadership programs, for example, for E.ON, the German company. And that's really like, okay, how do you upskill leadership for this new future? And it's not only AI, it's also data, automation. They're very much related. So how do you take them along this journey? And then a long-term client, Booking.com, which is also obviously the biggest tech company in Europe, very much on AI. And how do you actually make sure that everybody works together very well? So there's just some things that I was doing, but I don't want this to be like, oh, here's a case and here's a case. So what are kind of the lessons that you can distill from all these sessions? Before we go there, I want to share a little bit how this journey started for me in a couple of sentences. It started all with Tony Chocolonely. For the people based in the Netherlands, you know it's the best chocolate in the world, maybe even. Although I don't know. It's really good chocolate, and they have a really beautiful mission to abolish slavery in the chocolate chain. I was doing a workshop for them, a 2-day workshop, where the goal was to make their sales strategy for the upcoming year. This was 3 days after ChatGPT got launched. I already got some messages from friends like, hey, did you check it out already? This is going to be a game changer for you. I was very busy, completely ignored it. But then I was in this 2-day workshop, and on day 1, one of the participants asked me like, hey, did you already experiment with it? And I was like, no, but I'm getting a lot of messages about it, so maybe I should. So that evening was the first time I opened ChatGPT, and I asked it, can you write an e-commerce strategy for a chocolate brand? And the output was really, really good. It was very general, obviously, because it is very general, the output. But it was very good. And what I realized that during this first day of the strategy workshop, we were a little bit carried away with the nice and shiny new things of e-commerce, and because that's fun in a workshop, you go to these things. But actually, what I saw that evening, our foundation of the e-commerce strategy was just not good enough. Like, the flow, the basics of the e-commerce strategy. So the second day, I kind of challenged the group, let's work with AI, let's make the strategy better. And we used ChatGPT in that session to really come up with a good e-commerce strategy for the coming year for Tony's. So that was just a couple of days after ChatGPT got launched. And then I said to myself, okay, if clients ask for it or not, in the coming period, I'm going to inject it in every workshop or training that I do. And I don't mind if they don't want it. They will do it anyway. Then it's just 15 minutes, but I need to push this to our clients and see what can actually happen. Then I think just a couple of weeks after, I was just texting with a good friend of mine, Bart. He's also very much into AI, and we're like chatting every day about, wow, what did you do today with it? And I was chatting this GIF to him, like, you're from, I don't know, Australia, Next Idol or something, a long time ago. It's like, wow, it also does it super good. So, and then we were like chatting, should we not like organize something bigger where people can join and experiment together with it? And I think the best way of learning for me is actually just doing things and running things. So we launched the AI for Good Hackathon, which took place February 3, 2023. So a long time ago already. And there more than 150 people came online, 3 hours. We had challenges from a couple of companies, IKEA and 2 other companies, where it was really like, okay, let's learn by doing, let's make playbooks. What can I do for design? How can we keep humans in the loop? And it was just a hackathon with so much energy, because for many people it was brand new. We're now completely in a different stage, obviously, because everybody here has experimented already with it. But that hackathon kind of, sparked a lot of enthusiasm, and then led to, for me, working with more than 2,000 people now on AI, from leadership workshops to accelerators to full programs. And I think nowadays I spend around 70% of my time on AI-related topics. Mostly leadership workshops, really seeing how you can actually kind of shape the future of your company and become an AI-powered leader, it's complex, because leadership is not only about understanding what it can do, how it can impact your product and service, but also how it's going to impact humanity and the workforce of the future, and how are you going to upskill people at scale? Really big questions there in this space. So from all these sessions, I thought, okay, what are 5 lessons distilled? And this was basically when Anna Maria from the L&D Shakers community reached out, like, what do you want it to be? Okay, the Q&A session was not good enough. Just ask me anything. All right, then maybe something like 5 lessons from 50 sessions. But I didn't know at that time what the 5 lessons would be. So this week I started thinking a little bit about it. And these are the 5 lessons: experiment, change, impact, how to invest, and differentiate. And we'll touch upon all of them in the next slides. So let's start with experiment. And I think actually, if you remember one lesson, make it this one, because experimentation is the key to AI success, in my opinion. These are the 5 lessons. I connected them to some projects, and experiment is really the one that I feel take this one away, because if you want to engage your company or leadership team, let them experiment. Maybe in sessions like I do, in a rapid pace, but also on the longer run. How do you build controlled experiments where AI value is proven or AI use cases are explored? So the example that you see here was 9-hour kind of innovation accelerator, where we, in the first part, was like 3 hours where we kind of focused on productivity. Then there was like curated content, and then there was a second session all about innovation. And this was really cool session, because it was all about experimenting and just learn by doing. It's only learn by doing. Don't start sharing, because everybody's also in a different phase with AI. And the highlight, so we upskilled people, prompt engineering, how to become more productive, all the basics, you could say. But what was really magic was a 5-step prompt series that we wrote for the second innovation session. And it was in 5 prompts, so written by one of my colleagues, Lisa. You went from research to a pitch for the CEO to, at the final one, ChatGPT scoring your business idea on feasibility, desirability, and really giving a score from 0 to 100. And then the top 3 from 150 people in the room was presented to leadership, and they were like, okay, we can actually do something with it. So there was 150 new business ideas in 3 hours with just these 5 basic steps. Do a market analysis. What are the needs? Then make it into a business proposal using the value proposition canvas. Then make it into a pitch for the CEO. All right, now structure it. How would the business model, the value case look like? Score it on that one, and then present the top 3. And this kind of rapid experimentation is just mind-blowing what can come from it, from such a large audience. And all these people in the room, I mean, nothing really happened with the things that came out of that 3 hours, but all of them became really like using AI a lot because they saw the power. And the only thing we did here as facilitators is just design the process, make the prompts. And that, I think, is nice. So experiment is really the way to go, in my opinion, and love to tell you more in a moment about it. But we have to move on to lesson number 2, impact. So how do you actually align with where the company is going or where you want to go? So my favorite framework that I use a lot with leadership teams is this one by Gartner. It's the AI Opportunities Radar. Super straightforward. On the left side, it's more like the low-hanging fruit, everyday AI. Where can you inject it in the most basic processes? So, for example, customer service. It's going to be changing a lot in the coming 3-4 years. Or legal is a topic that I do a lot in the legal space because lots of data, lots of documents, files, perfect for large language models. So that's everyday AI. But how does future look like? What are game-changing AI? How can your complete product or service be completely reimagined? If you look, for example, in the travel space where I do some work, how will you be traveling in like 3-4 years? I'm not even sure if you will go to any of the companies that you now visit. Maybe it's just your AI assistant that does everything for you. How are you going to make sure that your company actually connects to that future? So these are the discussions that I find very interesting. And this framework kind of helps. Anyway, Gartner, if you don't know them, they have lots of great frameworks on AI, from how to do value to like where are we on the hype cycle. So check them out if you're curious to find out more frameworks. I think on the impact side, this one really stands out for me. On the short term, the impact is overestimated. So you also see a lot of companies going to do things right now like, wow, it's just costing money. It's not really giving us benefits yet. But the impact on the long term, I think, is completely underestimated. And yeah, I think this sentence for me is really important to share if you talk about impact. And also as leaders of companies, I think you really have to take this in mind. And I had a very interesting discussion with one company a couple of weeks ago, and they asked me, how is AI different than other change programs that we are running? And I think it's really on the second part of this sentence. This is in the long run going to be very impactful, and also for your complete workforce. Maybe some jobs will disappear, reskilling needs to happen. I think a big question there for the long term. Then one tip if you want to structure a process. I think after like almost now 2 years working on all these sessions, for me, the project that stands out is a project I'm running currently. It's called AI for Legal. It's for a Fortune 500 company, and there we structure it very well, based on all the learnings, all the experiments we did before. Where on phase 1, it's really getting the full leadership team on board, everybody from the leadership team, because you need them to be ambassadors. You need them to drive this change that will happen in this full department. Then the second part is ideation. Okay, what's the mindset needed? What are the skills needed? What are the tools that are available? And we selected, for example, one very cool tool. It's called Harvey AI, which is for lawyers. Really, mind-blowing. It works. It's so cool. It's backed by OpenAI, by Sequoia. And it's a very cool tool that really helps you litigation, all these kind of cases, helps you work as a lawyer. So we're setting up pilots now. That's part 2. And then part 3 is change management. How are we going to get everybody on board? Because the population within legal, they're old school. They don't want AI looking over their shoulder. They want autonomy. They want to just work in their Microsoft Word document from the 80s. So how do you actually do change management? So these 3 steps, I think, are really important to take. If you really want to make impact, it's not just a session and it's not just running pilots. It's also thinking for the long term, how you're going to do this change management. And that also leads me to the next session, with lesson, which is about change. And I think, I just generated this image with Midjourney just like 10 minutes ago. It was impossible to get not handsome guy. So that's still, super biased, these AI image generators. But I want to tell the story of one person that I met already quite a while ago. I think it was March 23. I was doing a 1-day innovation session. No, it was actually a 2-day workshop in Budapest, where in the first day we did almost full day with AI, like really working on new business models, and a very interesting day. And at the end of the day, I asked everybody how it was. And this person, I will reach out to him one day if I can use his real picture, but let's call him Mario for now. Mario said it was the worst day of his life. That was literally what he said. And I was in shock, like, wow. I've been working with that team for a long time already, so I knew Mario quite well. And it's not nice, you just gave a lot of energy to the session. I'm super enthusiastic about AI in general. So when you hear that, it's like, wow, very impactful, the worst day of your life. So that evening we were having dinner, and of course I went sit next to Mario and we talked about it very long. And what he said to me was that day he saw, one, that his job would become obsolete soon, or at least within 2-3 years. He saw that machines were taking over too much, and he's very almost a kind of hippie kind of guy, business hippie, that the human touch might be lost. So these 2 things, he was just like, it's just terrible. I think maybe I will join like an AI action committee, like against AI. And it was really, really interesting for me to have this discussion, because I can imagine completely. But it was really good to just hear it from him and really talk about it for like more than an hour. And it is things that we have to be careful for, like the humanity getting lost, jobs getting obsolete. So his story really, really touched me, and still sticks with me. And I think if you are in L&D, just don't underestimate this, because it's a big thing. Also, when I do interviews, you keep hearing it back from people. There is resistance, so you have to cater for that and really think how to do it. And I believe that there is a big role to play for HR within the larger companies. How are you going to reskill people? How are you going to take them along on this journey? And I don't want to talk too much about this project, but we did a HR hackathon series where we talked about the future of HR and how can you use it for L&D, for recruiting. But the topic that we couldn't really touch because it was too sensitive was actually the resistance for change and how you do it. So I think a big role there for HR teams to really think, okay, what is actually the resistance that we can get? How can we get people along this journey? What's the leadership's vision on it? Are they, for example, saying, we're going to embed AI to lose jobs, upskill people, do the same work with less people? Or are they going to say, hey, we're really going to upskill everybody and do more work and become a better company with the same people? And those are big choices leadership teams have to make. And then HR, I think in many cases is a little bit too reactive and maybe not asking these questions already, because it's also a big topic. So do you understand the implications for the future? Big questions there. So for me, lesson number 3 is definitely the change one. How are you going to do this well? If you are working, for example, in legal, how do you get the population along? If you're in HR, how are you going to upskill people and make it a topic that's approachable? I think there's many tips on how to make it approachable, make it playful, give them the right tools, give them the right mindset. But okay, that's it's still a big question to answer, I think, for leaders and HR teams. All right, so lesson number 4, invest. I'm a big fan of the Board of Innovation. They do a lot of cool innovation work with AI, and every year they organize a 2-day autonomous innovation summit. And their CEO said this quote last year, and I really want to echo it because I think it's a really good one. So for every dollar you invest in tech, invest 2 in people and change. And I've been working now with lots of different teams. And it's very easy. Also with the legal team, for example, they don't come to me with the question, we want like structurally to get everybody on board the AI journey. They come with the question, we want to do a pilot with Harvey AI, because they saw that tech. They saw that, oh, that's so cool for lawyers. Harvey AI, we need that. But they completely underestimate if that $1 in Harvey AI, you need to get the population along, to actually use the tool, to see what the different mindset you need to kind of use this. So this quote, I would say, for me, very important. For every dollar you invest in tech, invest 2 in people and change. And this is completely underestimated with most companies. Then the last lesson, and this is specifically if you are designing sessions yourself, you have to differentiate. And what do I mean with that? So I think April last year, I was in Basel for a session with 90 people around artificial intelligence. And then at the end of that session, it was a really great session, but at the end of the session, I was talking to a couple of participants, having some drinks. And then one participant was like completely newbie, never used ChatGPT before. 10 minutes later, I was talking to somebody who was building his own models with Hugging Face. So that was the same group, 90 people, a complete newbie and somebody that's like, building his own models. And you will, of course, not have this in every group that extreme, but as a trainer or as a L&D manager, you have to really think about how I'm going to differentiate these trainings, because it's not like social skills that you can, it's like it's really something that lots of people have a lot of experience already. So when I was starting to do workshops and trainings, it was quite easy. Everybody was like basic level. I remember the February hackathon we did now 1.5 years ago. Somebody said like, oh, it was like seeing snow for the first time. That was literally a quote. Now it's like, okay, AI training, I'm already like a daily user. Like, what can I really learn from it? So you have to differentiate. And there's a couple of tricks, of course, you can apply. My most favorite one, and this is actually an example from yesterday, is give people time to think about their own AI journey and kind of give them like some thought-provoking questions in it. So I use a lot this kind of playbooks that we give people. And yesterday was just also, like an online session. There was clock running, 10 minutes. Go work on your own playbook, meet with people, because then even if you're on completely different levels, you have different things that you can experiment with. That's just one of the tricks. Of course, there's more things you can do on the differentiating, but it's key because otherwise it's super boring for some people and way too fast for other people. So that's more pragmatic one. So yeah, going from this first session at Tony's to this hackathon to doing so much sessions on AI, I can still not imagine, and it's still going so fast. So for the people that saw this movie, Her, it's quite close. I mean, I'm talking to my AI every day. I use my headphones, I spar, I have like a notation things. It's just talking more instead of typing. It's just going incredibly fast. You can make podcasts in 10 minutes. That's just like new. It's almost impossible to keep up, and the rabbit hole is very deep. But I think if you summarize the 5 lessons, it's basically like, it's all about getting people along this journey, asking the right questions to the leaders of the companies you work with. Are they ready for it? Because they are also busy people. They cannot zoom out easily like, hey, where do we want to be in 3 years and what will be the impact of AI? So make it playful, make it engaging, and don't make it too heavy. That's what would be my advice if you want to make like build AI powered companies, AI first companies. If you want to empower your teams with AI, that would be my way to go. So those were the 5 lessons from designing and facilitating 50 AI workshops. I have no idea if that's a number. Probably it's a little bit more, but it's really an amazing journey and didn't end yet. So I'm super curious. I'm gonna close my screen, and I don't know if we made 20 minutes. Yeah, almost 25. So we have 20 minutes for Q&A, and maybe I can show you more details on some things. And I'm super curious if there are some nice questions in the chat. You can also unmute and ask it if you want.
Joost, we had a question in the chat from Bobby asking, will we still be teaching prompting in 1 year, or prompting will be embedded in the app?
Yeah, good question. I think you won't be teaching maybe like prompting as is, but more how to ask AI to make you a good prompt. But for me, like prompting, and this is a big topic. I remember also one client asked me, "Can you make a prompt library for us?" It's like, yeah, don't do it, because my advice is always, just talk like as if it's like a human. Just ask the first question, and there's some basics for prompting that you have to know. Give specifics, act as. But I would say prompting basics is like, for everybody, like a basic half-an-hour lesson, and then it's like just do it, experiment. So I do think prompting still stays important, but if I would design a training, I would never make it a prompt engineering training, but much more like just do it mentality. Here are some basic prompts to get started. So yeah, maybe fake answer, but I would say a little bit. Fabricio, I saw you also raise your hand.
Yeah, I put the question in the chat, but anyway, I don't know if, I know you also work with strategy and helping teams to develop strategies. How do you see AI helping to develop a more agile planning process, but also updating this process since the market changes very rapidly, right? So how do you see AI helping in that process, Josh?
Yeah, I think on strategy side, there's lots of opportunities there. It's actually a topic that I want to dive a lot deeper in the coming year. I had a little experiment myself last month. I was in Warsaw for 4-day management offsite. There we used AI for strategy building. So, for example, the classic SWOT: strength, weakness, opportunities, threats. It's embedded in all the strategy processes. Instead of doing the classic one, we did like half an hour, everybody first solo, like, hey, what's a SWOT of, like, insert URL of the company. And then, this is very general, make it a really blinding insight that can really be a game changer for next year. And then we had the discussion on what was really the insight of the SWOT. And that was just half an hour. Well, could be 3 hours, 4 hours, a regular SWOT session, 2 years ago. So I think on every phase of strategy, it can be used. Especially what you say, agile strategy, to make it really adaptive. It can analyze, obviously, market trends very well. It can do consumer. You can even build synthetic users, so your profiles of users, and make them with AI, so you can get insights from that. So I would say there's a lot you can do with AI in strategy. The big thing, however, is the same as these lessons. How do you get people along with the strategy? How do people in companies even know what is the strategy? So making a strategy is not that difficult. That's fast. But then executing, I think that's a bigger question. How do you use AI for the execution part? But it's a super interesting topic, and I feel there's a lot of space for experimentation, and I don't think too much companies are doing it yet.
Yes, we have another question from Liz in the chat. How are other companies measuring AI adoption impact?
Yeah, good question. I honestly don't have a good answer for it yet. It's too early, basically. You do see that actually Gartner has a lot of interesting articles on it. You have the Gartner hype cycle, where you see where was AI, and we're now a little bit down in the hype, and that's because the short-term benefits, the short-term money benefits, did not get crystal clear yet. So it's difficult to measure. There is research. So you have, for example, MIT saying that was already last year. They did big research. People get 20% faster. They get better and happier using ChatGPT. And there's recent research around like white collar work. measured on AI, and it can almost do the same or better level. But to really pinpoint it to, let's say, bottom line results, many companies are struggling with it. So I don't have a good answer yet. It's more like on the research side, yes, there's lots, but in companies, the business case not proven completely yet, and it's a lot of experimentation.
Yeah. Thanks, Joost.
Welcome.
We have a raised hand from Domi.
Hey, Domi.
Let me lower the hand. I have a question about the change management process, because you mentioned, how important it is, and then there's different levels of people some of people are super excited about it and they're all up for it, and then you have the other group that is very resistant for the reasons that are very valid. What tips do you have to manage this, like also in the short term? Because it's difficult sometimes to manage workshops and things like this when you have this clash between these two groups of people.
Yeah, I would say that this is very, very challenging topic. My advice would be kind of one, start with the leadership team, that they actually have a clear vision on what they want with AI, and maybe even a clear message. So, for example, one team I'm working now with, I'm literally having discussions with the leadership. Do you want to go out with statements like, if you are not gonna augment your workflows with AI and start adopting it, I don't think there will be place for you in 3 years here at the company, because they really want everybody on board. But these are discussions we're having right now. Like, is that something you can even say as a leadership team? Because there is, people that don't like it, they don't want it. This is actually a leadership question first. Then on the change side, you can do this in many levels. So I'm a strong fan of ambassador networks. So empower the people that really want to go fast and let them play a vital role in like the change management. And also like little steps, like, hey, in your team meetings, do like an AI share, like those kind of things. Make it like playful, light. So yeah, different approaches to it, but I hope that answers your question a bit.
Yes, thank you so much.
Welcome. Do we have more questions?
Oh yes, Joost, we have lots, and
nice.
I will combine. So a few questions are regarding the tools. What are your top 5 favorite tools? And also the question from Hardik, which tool would you recommend to engage audience during your webinars? Not for notes, but for engagement.
Okay, so I'll come back to that in a second. So my top 5 tools. One for sure, just classic ChatGPT Pro subscription. Yeah, I use it all the time. So that's definitely my number 1. Then my number 2 is Fireflies AI. Fireflies AI runs with all my meetings and gives me transcripts of all my meetings, and I use it to then analyze what was the sentiment, what are the challenges, literally like make super good analysis. So that made my work as a strategist facilitator just better. It's like, it's not saving me time, it's actually costing me more time to do this analysis. But suddenly I get insights that I would never got from just writing from my interviews that I do with people. So Fireflies is awesome. I think number 3, it's really recent, but I'm using it all the time. It's VoiceFlow AI. And VoiceFlow, wait, I'll show you. I have now a hotkey on my type here, this hotkey. If I touch it, I cannot do it now because I'm in a meeting. Then it just dictates with a little large language model behind it. So I can just dictate, like just talk and send my emails, and it structures it in paragraphs. If I say, hey, Flow, make it bullets, it makes it bullets. So suddenly I can write long emails in minutes instead of like 20 minutes for email. Suddenly it's like 3 minutes. So VoiceFlow is my number 3, and I just started using it 2 weeks ago, and I'm really like amazed like how good it is. I think those are my top 3. Maybe other tools I use are Synthesia AI to make videos, Midjourney for images, but that's not as relevant as these top 3 for me. Then the other question, which one I use in workshops, that's basically the tools that people are using themselves. That really depends on the tools they use. There's not a specific AI tool, but maybe I didn't understand the question good enough.
Can I ask if?
Yeah, of course.
So basically, the question is this, that since you do a lot of workshops, a lot of hackathons, and all of us in terms of learning and development professionals, we also do a lot of workshops and webinars. So how do you engage the audience on Zoom or on
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
virtual? Yeah, because that has become a
Yeah.
challenge
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
all of us
Yeah.
in terms of
Of course.
engagement.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah, sorry. So there's not. It's more like the approach for online workshop. Yeah, I can have a good answer to that because it's not specifically AI related, but I have like a formula that I use, and that's 75-25. Everything online should be 75% interactive and 25% that you can share things. And usually it's more like 10% interactive and 90% sharing. So when I run any workshop or training online, for example, yesterday I did 2 sessions on AI-powered change transformation. Within 5 minutes, people were in a breakout. So 5 minutes, the session was started 5 minutes, they were in a breakout. They already had a prompt that they filled in. Bam, the answer, whoop, discuss with colleagues. 5 minutes, they're in a breakout. So, and that speed and rhythm you need online, because if it's like 20 minutes, like sending and, oh, we're going to talk about change transformation. Oh, let's do a slide deck of 50 pages, let's talk about it 20 minutes. Boring. People start emailing in the background. They start losing interest. So you have to keep a lot of pressure, a lot of time pressure, and make it super interactive. Use breakouts. I use a lot of playbooks. So then in the chat, there's a playbook that they can download, start filling in, let them do solo work. I set them up in teams with a challenge, time pressured, of course. So yeah, 75-25, and preferably actually like more like 85-15. The more interactive, the better. And I can also prove with the data from the last years that this is very well received. So one example is we did a 3-day session, 3 times 3 hours for a finance team, like 2 years ago already. And I was literally, as a facilitator, just sitting there with my co-facilitator, just talking to her like almost 3 days, because the people were only working in breakouts. And we're like, we didn't even know anymore if they were really happy with the program or like. But then the average participant score came back. It was a 9 out of 10 average participant score. And we didn't even know anymore if they learned something, because we were just talking as facilitators. So put them in breakouts, give them big challenges, give them the tools to actually do those. And of course, do inject some bite-sized learnings, but let them do the work. They have to own their learning journey.
Can I just make a testimonial here, because I mean we had several projects together, Josh, and you helped us a lot. And in these activities, you used lots of tools like, for example, Miro, the Mentimeter. I mean, there are so many tools that you guys use
That's true.
in these workshops, and they helped a lot to bring this iterative dynamic into the room, and it was very, very helpful. So there are some tools in that direction that, as you said, not necessarily related to AI, but they were very helpful in these dynamics.
Thanks for adding this, Fabricio. Indeed, Mentimeter is very cool. Used all the time. Slido is nice. Mural. I use nowadays a lot Google slide decks, just where people can just work in, because Miro and Mural sometimes have that people then don't understand it. But yeah, Mentimeter, for example, for online sessions, you can, it's really powerful. So yeah, that's more on the tool side. Thanks for highlighting that, because indeed the tools do help a lot for online sessions. Are there more questions? I think we still have a couple of minutes left.
We do, and there is one, but quite deep philosophical, about AI getting more humanized, and what are the consequences of it?
Yeah, I think this is, I hope, I don't know who asked it, but I hope he or she also saw the movie Her. And I think in that...
The question from Thomas Demini.
Okay, Thomas, did you see Her, Thomas?
Yes, I saw Her, and I have been on a lot of conference recently when you see people, especially when they are young, don't want to have this fussy interaction with other people. So they ask their ChatGPT and they become their friend, and then they lose this network that they need. So we can see, as you say, long-term consequences, but I see it coming very fast.
Yeah.
We don't have this intergenerational, a lawyer that knows something helping a new one, and the new one don't even get a job, a practice intern, because so I can see a lot of things around.
Yeah,
Sorry
definitely.
for being perhaps a party pooper in the possibility.
No, of course. No, I wouldn't say it's a party pooper, and I also don't think it's like age related. To be honest, I have this prejudice also, but I met a lawyer like just 3 weeks ago, and I think he was like really pushing retirement. I'm in a call with him. Within 3 minutes, he told me he just did MIT 6 weeks AI course. And I was like, what? Like, it's so cool. So I don't think it's even age related. You're enthusiastic about it and passionate or not. But I do indeed like completely see what you're aiming at. And that's, in Her, there's this famous sentence where I think the character says like, I've never been more in love with somebody else. And that was honest AI, and I can imagine this because I mean, I think the voice right now I talk to is still clunky and, it's not good enough. But what if in 2 years, I think there's also things like, hey, maybe it knows you the better than anybody else and better than your partner, for example, because you spend like so much time talking and it can feel the emotions better. So I'm just really curious, and you see already things like, I say synthetic girlfriends and boyfriends and people just talking with them, this new generation. So I'm not like on the party pooper side. I do think it will have extreme consequences on companies, on humanity. Is it for the worst or the best? That's still to be seen. I mean, there's definitely the next decades will show that. But I think it's a very interesting question, Thomas. And we can definitely talk about this for hours.
Just maybe the last question, since it was repeated from Zoe. She's curious about why companies are sensitive about addressing the change management aspect, as you said. From the outside, it seems like an obvious thing that needs to be thought about.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I don't have like an answer that's like validated from the last period. But my assumption, or at least thinking, is that this is not only for if you're on a mid-level at a company, or this is actually for the leaders themselves also. So for example, the leader is responsible for vision and strategy, classic, that might be taken over also by AI. So it's for them, it's also like a struggle. So I think there's like very few companies that are saying, hey, we're all in on this, and this is the change management journey. I think they're still like very much on the face, like, we need to do something with it. How we're gonna do it? Day-to-day business, bomb, just goes. So they don't find time to answer these big questions. So let alone think about the change management aspect. And I can say from experience, from a company that is very keen on this AI journey and really putting a lot of resources behind it, they're also not thinking that much about the change journey. That's also coming right now, these realizations that it's not easy to get people to use these tools. Because the ones that, experience them, they're like, you become a user or not. But there's many people that use it. They're like cynical. They don't use it anymore. And they're like against it. And they're just, I don't know. It's a really, really complex area. But I think the change management is at the third step almost. And many people are not just thinking about it yet. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Thanks, Joost. We still have a few questions, but cautious of time, people can reach out to you on LinkedIn for more answers.
Yeah, we can we can continue like 3 more minutes or something. I think the idea was 45 minutes, but we can stay a little bit longer for people that want to stay around and ask more questions. If you want to drop out, also feel free, obviously, but I can stick around a couple of more minutes. So if you select one or two more questions, Valeria, let's go for it. Or just
sure.
unmute if you have an urgent question. Just unmute and ask it.
I think that's gonna be better, faster.
I see Brittany. You're raising your finger. Classic. You're muted, I think. too bad, because I'm really curious to your question. I know you're like really a facilitation geek, so I'm quite curious, Brittany.
Hi, Joost. Kathy
Maybe-
from Australia. How you going?
Yeah, good.
Good. So my question is around, have you seen any, or you've seen anyone use some good test cases? So what I'm working on is a playbook for capability managers to use their Excel detailed skills matrices and everything they've done, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rows, and then use AI to actually personalize it and actually make it about the people now rather than about the skills that they've been doing. Like, they've done all some really hard work, but now we need to bring it to life. And I'm wondering if you've seen anything, any good use cases or anything that I can check out.
I'm afraid not.
Yep.
I'm not very much into that to the Excel kind of space. Copilot, of course, I know the basics, but it's not really my space. So I don't think I have a good example I can share here.
Yeah, no, even like around going, like if you're trying to get a skills-based workplace and you've got all the data, actually then using Gen AI or whatever to bring it to life. Yeah,
in that field you can do a lot,
side.
Of course. Yeah, you can do gap analysis. You can do that. You should actually have a brainstorm with ChatGPT about this, really, because I think it's going to help you a lot.
Yeah, no, they use an internal version. They have their own Gen AI tool that they're using rather than ChatGPT. But yeah, I just wondered if there's any use cases or anything you've seen. And if anyone has any in the chat, feel free to tag it as well. I'd love to check them out.
Cool. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
So I see quite some hands still. That's nice, because I was really hoping for lots of questions, and it's really like painful when there's no questions at the end. Let's go to Bobby G's iPhone. Bobby G.
Hi there. Yeah. Just wondering what you're seeing in terms of the longevity of what you do. So you turn up, you do a workshop, you walk away. Are you seeing that people are using techniques to really keep it going? I know you mentioned, like, if you mention it in your weekly meetings as a fun, who did something with ChatGPT this week, but are there methods that you're seeing successful amongst your clients to really keep it alive and keep it moving forward?
Yeah, this is a big topic that I'm thinking a lot around. So I would say in 80% of the sessions that I do, it's indeed, I do a workshop, training, whatever. Maybe it's like 2 or 3 trainings, or it's a program for longer term. But to really see the adoption and those kind of things is difficult. I even have one story of somebody that emailed me like 2 days after a hackathon, like, wow, this was amazing, already saved me 2 hours. I talked to that same person half a year later. It's like, how are you using it now? Didn't really get into his work systems. So I'm struggling with this topic. It's the same as the question on measurement. There's not enough measurement right now yet. And that's why I'm like in my new projects, for example, the legal one, I am doing this change journey also, or at least, empowering the team to do that and really build in these little mechanisms, from town halls to AI shares to like getting people more on this journey. So I don't have a really good answer yet, Bobby, but it's really on my mind to work on this in the coming period, because indeed it was like a crazy period, like doing so much sessions. And next thing is really the adoption.
Can I try again? Oh my gosh. I
think
now, right? Okay, good.
Hey, Brittany.
Wonderful. So I'm actually wondering, because I'm coming from like a little bit of a different space. Obviously, I'm running a lot of workshops internally, but a lot of the companies are very excited about us obviously supercharging our workshops with AI. So what I'm wondering, because I've struggled to like inject AI in a way that makes sense and doesn't like derail everything, because what often happens is people go down these like rabbit holes, and you know what I mean? So I'm always like, okay, I'm trying to like limit. So I'm wondering like what kind of exercises, what kind of frameworks, like what are you doing in your workshops that's working?
So in let's say that especially the first year, when people were not even asking me to do something with AI, I did it anyway. So then it was like small sessions. For example, completely related to their topic. Let's say you're doing a session on topic X, then I do, before a presentation or before like, regular program, I do like 15 minutes or 20 minutes with AI on this topic. Or I ask AI to challenge the output, those kind of little things. And I think to to make it like super pragmatic. I think earlier on I briefly touched upon the example where I did a SWOT. That was a question Fabricio asked on strategy. So this was amazing. There was like in Warsaw a month ago, 4-day management offsite. AI was not on the program, but there's just to spice up the workshop. There was like a 1-hour presentation from the CEO about a new proposition. And I was like, yeah, the proposition is good, but are people really like engaged and activated? So before that presentation, I let them do like half an hour solo, make a SWOT, make it a blinding insight, game changing. What would be our 1-word proposition for our company? And then they were like, all the participants suddenly had like a lot of ideas, and then listened completely different to that presentation of that CEO. And it was amazing. The room was on fire, and that's just one example. But you can build in, let's say you have a draft for your workshop or a training, and there's no AI. You can see like, oh, which part can we do? And it can also be an energizer or something fun. It doesn't have to be also people on their own phones. It can also be you doing something with AI. Oh, let's think about a check-in question. Oh, there's different ways you can go. Love your work, by the way, Brittany.
Thank you so much. That was really helpful. Yes, thank you very
Cool.
much. I've got like ideas for next week.
Nice.
My workshop.
Cool.
Thank you.
I almost have to drop out because I have an appointment. Liz, you were raising your hand long time.
It's a very
Sorry.
quick question. So in terms of mass rollout, prompting sessions, like promptathons, exercising, practice sessions, what size do you do it with in a large organization? At the moment, we're doing it for around 20 people in a virtual environment. What's the best way to roll it out massively and effectively?
Yeah, so you can do this at a lot larger scale, I would say. So the trainings that I did, they're all for like 100, 200, 300 people.
Right.
And Zoom, amazing platform. You can run breakouts still like 1,000 people. We did like sessions with like 800 people, and you can still have a breakout with a couple of people.
Okay.
So I would say scale it up. Do it with more people, make it interactive, give them a cheat sheet, give them a couple of sample prompts, and let them experiment. And to do this structurally, one thing that really worked was, for example, do it every month 1 day or every week 1 day. The company that I work with, they do like Wednesdays where they have like this 1-hour session. People can always join from all over the world. There's 60,000 people, so there's always people joining.
Yeah.
But if you're in a smaller company, do it once a month. I wouldn't call it prompting sessions. I would make it a little bit more aspirational, like supercharge yourself with AI sessions. And because it should not only be about prompting, in my opinion.
Augment your work. Yeah.
And then give them a couple of things to get started with. Because, for example, yesterday, I did 2 sessions on AI and change transformation. And there was also people very advanced in the room. But then just the prompts that I gave them, the challenges that I gave them to crack with AI, it's if you think about those things, what are like things to get them started, and what's a big challenge we want them to work on, preferably related to their jobs and not just a random example. Then people will really love it.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Joost.
Welcome. I have to go. I'm really sorry.
Just before you drop off and the rest, massive thank you. It was amazing to see how energized discussion we had. So enjoy the rest of the day and stay tuned for our upcoming AI Learn-tini sessions.
Thanks. And for people that are interested, follow me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I'm definitely going to share more things on this topic. So let's stay connected and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining today.
Bye.
Bye.